Good morning, I'm Alan Smith. Today I'm representing ID Shield, the identity theft protection package that Legal Shield provides. So imagine, if you will, going to the bank, Comerica for example, making your deposit and getting a balance and noticing that the balance that you thought you had is different from the one on the sheet of paper that the bank tells you that you have, and the bank tells you that it's a lot less than what you thought. Well, that happened to me back in about 15 years ago. I was banking at the time with Washington Mutual. Somebody got access to my Social Security number. I don't know how, but they walked into a branch of Washington Mutual in Southern California and proved to the bank's satisfaction that they were me. The bank then gave them my checking account and an ATM card, so my story just goes on and on from there. They used that ATM card for 5 days at $300 a day cash, plus gasoline purchases and other things, before I discovered it. So, imagine my surprise when I went to the bank and found out that I had a lot less money in my checking account than I thought I should have. So, what had happened was, and then when that got fixed, I went to the bank and I closed the bank accounts, and I went, and opened new bank accounts and filed a claim with the bank for the money, and which eventually they did reimburse me for most of it. Then I had to fill out a police report and go through all the hassles that took time away from my work and my business, and it developed into something even more than that. So since these crooks in Southern California were me, virtually, they started applying for credit in my name at Sears and at Macy's and Penny's, and even the telephone company gave him an account. It turned out to be a huge mess. Now, I just want you to know that I'm not alone. I'm just one of 16 million victims every year, and growing, of identity theft. Identity theft is when someone gets your personal information and it virtually becomes you, and then uses that information to raise all sorts of cane in your life. I want to tell you and educate you today a little bit about the 5, 6, 7 kinds of ID theft. I just described financial ID theft. There's also the credit card fraud, which is really not identity theft and is easily fixed and oftentimes discovered in advance by the credit card company. For example, when someone bought a $3,150 computer in my name with my American Express card from Dell, American Express caught it and shut off the charge, and the computer never got shipped from Dell to Fishkill, New York, where it was originally supposed to go. Those kinds of things you may have all experienced. That's not really identity theft. Identity theft is much more serious and much more pervasive than just a credit card fraud. And only about 17% of identity theft is financial in nature. What is really worse are things like medical identity theft and criminal ID theft, and I probably only have time to give you about 1/3 of my presentation today. So I'll tell you a couple of stories of those kinds of ID theft. Hopefully you never get caught into that, but the issue that is so concerning is that it takes years sometimes for the identity theft to be discovered, unless your credit card accounts and other personal information, things like passports and so on, are being monitored. So there was a young lady, four young children. I don't know if you've heard this story before. I don't remember if I told it the last time I was here or not. The youngest was 2, so she hadn't been in the hospital in a while, right? So the hospital gives her a call in town, and this is someplace in Central California, and it's on the news. I think you could probably research the archive of this video. Your newborn has drugs in her system. We're sending out the sheriff and CPS to have a chat with you, which they did, and threatened to take her 4 children away from her because in their book she was a bad mother. Well, what it turned out was somebody on drugs wanted to have their baby in the hospital, got someone's ID, whether it be a driver's license, medical card, or whatever it was, got access to the hospital bed, had the baby, abandoned the baby, and now the hospital has a sick baby on their hands and a big bill. What are they going to do? They're going to call law enforcement. Well, after the victim in this case explained that it wasn't her, proved that it wasn't her, she hadn't been in the hospital, etc., they went away, but then she got a $10,000 hospital bill. So what a mess to have to clean up, and what a scary experience that could happen to any of us. We've heard stories of people having to go to the doctor's office and putting their foot on the desk to show that it had not been amputated. Someone had, yes. And again, time wasted on things like situations like that. Criminal identity theft is where someone commits a crime and then hands the cop your ID. And there was a very similar situation in Henderson, Nevada, the year 2000. A young woman left her purse in the car while she was in the mall for some reason, and car was broken into, purse stolen. The culprit got caught the next day by the police, handed the cops the ID from one of the purses that she had stolen. 8 years later, 2008, the woman whose purse had been stolen, of course all of everything had been, long taken care of and long forgotten about, gets pulled over for something simple like a broken taillight, and then gets arrested and put in jail for 2 nights and 3 days before she could get out of jail. Cops were not cooperating with her. They wouldn't even match her thumbprint with the records file. It was a real mess. She actually had to hire an attorney for 5 minutes to go and help her get out. Of course, attorneys don't charge you for 5 minutes, do they? It cost her something. So these are a couple of cases. There's more. There are more stories, more true stories, and more kinds of identity theft. I don't know how much time I have left, but I do want to let you know that this flyer that I passed around, I've got a little more than 5 minutes left. Maybe time for another story. Shows that ID Shield is what you should be looking for when you get an identity theft product. Does anyone here have LifeLock or something similar to that? I'm surprised. I had someone.
I have Legal Shield.
You have ID Shield and Legal Shield. That's good. So what you should definitely have a monitoring service. You should definitely be able to get counsel and advice from the identity theft people when you need it. In the case of ID Shield, it's 24/7 availability. And most of all, you should be looking for a service that will restore your identity back to where it was before the identity theft took place. And I believe that ID Shield is the standard in that category, and the cost is very affordable. So, not trying to. Frank told me not to say that. So I'm trying today to get you to open your awareness a little bit of people around you that may have already experienced identity theft, such as child identity theft. You know, when we have to have our babies have to have a social security number now when they leave the hospital. Didn't always happen that way, and the crooks are using that. They find that it won't be discovered for 5 years, 15 years, whatever, until that person gets their first job, or that person gets their first credit. They buy a car or something. So there are story after story after story of young people who are victims of identity theft and don't even know about it, and they won't know about it until they turn 17 or 18 or 19. So the people around you are experiencing identity theft and don't know it. People around you are, when they do find out it, they don't know what to do about it. And I would appreciate the referral. I also market this to employee groups. For example, today I'm going to San Francisco and speak to a group of engineers at One Post Street. Be an interesting day. And I will, a number of them will sign up with our Legal Shield plan and our Identity Shield plan, and they can pay for it through payroll deduction. That's the kind of client I'm looking for as well, somebody with employees. and some, families, because identity theft is a huge issue. It takes time away from your work. It takes time away from your, if you try to fix it yourself, from your job and business, and it costs you revenue in that case. So one other quick thing. My cards went around. There's a stack of cards here. If you didn't get one of my new ones, I want to give you a free app it's called Ask. And it has 1,200 researched answers to common legal questions. You just put it on your phone and tap, and you can get any of your legal questions answered if they're on that list. And I would imagine that over 1,200 of those would be there. Question, Frank?
Yeah, I've been paying for the Legal Shield for 5 years for my son, for my grandson in Kansas. And the nice thing is we're not paying for the time, we're paying for the right answers in different states. But it was nice because we got a 25% discount on the retainer, as well as the legal fees for while we're going to court and entertaining that interesting situation.
Yes, thank you for sharing that testimonial. I appreciate it very much. And I would also recommend you download the Legal Shield app onto your phone. It's a Legal Shield app, I guess, in your app store. And just play with the demo of it, too. It's very, very interesting. So I appreciate your time. Yes, Carla?
What would you say are the differences between the ID Shield and LifeLock? What would make you?
Well, I have a T-chart that I can give you with all of the benefits and the comparison. So, but the main difference in my book is that ID Shield provides full restoration. The licensed investigators that work for Kroll, who's our partner in this crime bending process. Kroll is the world's largest risk management firm. They will put your good name back to where it was if you're a member and you become a victim. Yes, sir?
My understanding is the LifeLock monitors, does not repair. You do both.
Correct. Yeah.
Simple answer.
Yeah, monitoring is like the police department, the fire department calling you and saying your house is on fire. Well, you're gonna put it out, aren't you? No, we're just monitoring. Yes, sir?
I was just gonna say, the Go Small Biz plan offers a whole lot of additional benefits also, especially when you get into the CRM, other tools, webinar, seminars, and training videos.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. My intention today was just to share with you the information about identity theft. There are other services that we provide and offer, and I appreciate the help with that. Yes, thank you very much. Frank?
Would this be a good gift for Christmas, for something important in your life?
It would definitely be a good gift for Christmas to someone important, someone that you care about. Yes.
Everyone has a straight man.
I didn't ask for that. We didn't set that up. I really appreciate it. And by the way, this flyer, being a little bit old, the URL at the bottom might be wrong, so please use the URL on my card if you're going to do a little research on me. Thank you so much for your time.